Be sure and tell them Large Marge sent ya.
In the 90s, we were just teeny tykes. We liked our movies and our bikes. We wanted to be DJs, but we were just teeny gals. So we went off to college and we remained as pals. 20 years later, we're still watching flicks and we're bringing you the feedback bit by bit. Sweetie and Sweetie are here to say it's the Large Marge sent us podcast. Hey.
Hey guys, welcome to the Large Marge Tennis Podcast, your favorite podcast where two sweetie sisters talk about movies that shaped their childhood. I'm Sweetie with an IE.
And I'm Sweetie with a Y.
Hey guys, welcome back.
Hi, we're still here. It's still happening. It's still quarantine. Still sucks.
Still apart. Haven't seen my sweetie in, count it, 35 days.
I mean, I'm over it, Desmond. I'm over it.
That's what I said last week.
No, I didn't. Play back the tape. I don't believe
That's what I said last week. I said, I'm over this.
Oh.
And you're like, what do you mean, over it? I was like, I don't want to talk about it. So, yeah, quarantine, blah, blah, COVID-19, blah, blah, blah. Everyone's losing their jobs, blah, blah, blah. I'm over it. But good news, guys, we're here for you. We are here for you in a big way. And this week was my pick, and I decided, as we are, yes, born in the 1980s, but, we didn't really grow, we were little kids in the 1980s. So a lot of the 80s movies that are very famous, we know of, but, were not ones that, maybe shaped our childhood. They did, maybe, unbeknownst to us, but, we don't always dig too deep into the 80s because we, really were more kids in the 90s. But I felt that it was time to dig deep into the 80s. And by deep into the 80s, I mean 1983,
Whoa.
which coincidentally was the year I was born. I know, this is a sweetie movie year. I was born in 1983, as was this film. And it is entitled Risky Business. Just take those old records off the shelf. I'm gonna listen to them by myself. Today's music ain't got the same soul. I like that old timer rock and roll. Don't try to take me to a disco.
Why not? Discos are so fun, man.
Yeah, he doesn't like discos.
Well, I like them.
So we'll talk about that Bob Seger jam in a hot sec. I do love it. But 1983 was the year of Risky Business. Pretty big movie, pretty weird movie, I will say. This movie is fucking weird.
I don't know what just happened, but I sat down to watch what I thought was just a regular Tom Cruise movie. And then little did I know, it was an hour and a half of some teenage boy's wet dream of what he thinks happens to the average boy living in a small suburb of Chicago, probably Oak Park.
Is it a wet dream or a wet nightmare? Because it really volleys back between the two, if you think about it.
Everything seems to be okay at the end, so
I mean,
no consequences, as usual.
Oh, totally. I'm not 100% clear of how old the man who wrote this was or when he wrote this, but it feels like he was, around the age of Joel, sat down and was like, yeah, what's my, dream movie concept? Oh, yeah, hot strippers.
Or he was like, what
cool
would be
cars.
What would be the best day of my life or something like that? Just bullshit. I can't even.
It felt very like that, and you're like, wow, how, I don't know if this movie would, get made now, but
not today. But I also, it seems it seems like it's trying or wanting to be very artistic, and then it's just filled with this nonsense, and then it just seems like it's supposed to be a dream. They set the whole thing up. I have a theory. I have a fan theory. But I feel like it's just one continuous dream. That's what I thought this movie was. That's my theory.
Which would make more sense. I mean, I think that's the only way you can come at it, because if you don't, you're like, this is ridiculous. I can see it be, and I will say, okay, so my history with this movie is that, okay, clearly I was too young to see this when it came out. I was a fetus / a newborn. But I remember seeing it probably when I was like 8 or 9. And this was definitely like my time when I think I started discovering like these early Tom Cruise movies, like Cocktail
Sweetie
and this
Sexual
one.
Awakening.
Yeah, I mean, he was on my list. Remember, he was number 5, and
Yeah. Wait,
I started to be like,
that seems awfully low. I thought he was like 3 or something.
well, he was like old for me. Like in the 90s,
Yeah.
he like was kind of old.
Yeah, I guess.
So I started to go back in like the Tom Cruise archives, or you know, we've done Cocktail, right? So that was like right around this time. Top Gun. So you had like all these ones where he started really being this like leading man. And I remember like I saw this one and I just felt so cool. I was like, oh yes, like this movie is so cool. I don't know if I must have seen it on TV, because honestly I do not remember like the sex scenes in this, which to me, like I'm going to be a 37-year-old woman, and I was like blushing. I was like, I don't know if I've just never seen Tom Cruise like do sex scenes like that or something.
What?
They were
You've
like,
never seen Eyes Wide Shut?
whoa. Yes, I have seen that, but like I don't know what it was. I don't know. I got like very flustered and embarrassed.
Or Jerry Maguire? Hello,
that's
sex
like
scene.
funny. That's like a funny sex scene. These were like trying to be very, very serious.
Or
I
very,
feel like this
like-
movie couldn't find its like what it wanted to be, because like sometimes it was funny, but then sometimes it took itself so seriously, and you're like, what?
What you mean when he's biking through the darkness in a sea of rage and despair, and he shows up at the prostitute house?
And it's not to say you can't have like comic relief and stuff like that. Like there's that even like serious films, but it's like, come on, the kid is like a dumb punk with like no clue about anything. Like, stop trying to be so serious. Stop trying to like solve the world. It's almost like if like Ferris, you know, it feels almost like a John Hughes film that was trying to take itself like way too seriously.
I spent at least 5 minutes searching through all the credits of this movie to find some trace of John Hughes, because I was convinced that he had a hand in this somehow, even just like consulting or like I don't know, anything. Not a trace, not a single trace. Which is strange.
I don't want to shit on this movie too much, because I do think it like holds its place, and it is like a very like, you know, it's a famous film. It has like gone through, you know, people. I don't know if people like love this movie, but it definitely had like something to say, and people saw it, and it has left like an impression on pop culture, like for sure.
But mostly just like, for the scene of him dancing in his underwear. Like everybody has seen that scene, but if you told me like the movie I was expecting was somehow different, you know, like that scene is like, oh, this is like a silly, you know, kid is on his own, gets into hijinks kind of movie, and it's like it's not just that. It's not that. I just can't get over it. I feel like I feel really weird.
It is. I feel the experience to me was quite strange. So, and you had never seen it, right? So, like, I'd seen it maybe like twice.
I've never seen it, but I knew the beginning part. And before it even started, I just said out loud to myself, "The dream is always the same." And I was like, "Oh my God, is this how this opens?" And I was right, because it's just, I don't know if it's because it's iconic or like I did see that part once, but yeah, that's what I thought the movie was about. I thought the movie was like he had this dream and then it comes true. Yeah. He like had an affair with, I thought Rebecca DeMornay was his neighbor, and like I just thought it was that kind of story. Okay. Not the case.
Okay. So Risky Business. Tom Cruise, Obvi, as the main role. I'd say this is like, it was not his first movie at all. Like he did The Outsiders. He did this one called Taps. Something else came before this too. And then, but I feel like this was like the real start of his like career as a leading man. really like cemented him. And then he had just like, I mean, once you look at his IMDb, you're like, oh shit, like so many things.
Wait, can we go over it? Can we briefly just touch on the timeline of where this movie is in relation to the other big Tom Cruise movies in the 80s that we may have covered?
So it's really the first. So it's really the first. So it's like The Outsiders was the movie he did before this. So he was, you know, it was a big like ensemble cast. So there wasn't really like, and he wasn't the star of it for sure. Then it was this one. Then it is, what was next? Top Gun, maybe? Or Cocktail, maybe?
Cocktail. I think Top Gun was 86.
Yeah, Top Gun. And then you started having those late 80s ones. The racing one.
Mm-hmm. Days of Thunder.
Days of Thunder, Far and Away. Far and Away? That's the Nicole Kidman Irish one. They're like Irish immigrants.
That's what it is.
Yeah.
Yep.
And then goes into like the early 90s ones with like the vampire, blah, blah. Interview with the Vampire.
The vampire movie.
Yeah.
Okay. Interesting. Okay. I see.
Yeah. But this was like really, really like the first thing. So he was 20 years old. So he played, you know, a high school kid. I'll describe later kind of how they like
20 years old and
transformed him.
Oh,
when this was filmed, he was 20.
Oh, okay. I read the trivia wrong. Sorry.
Yeah.
I already read the trivia because, like I said, I was searching for clues that John Hughes had something to do with this.
Oh, okay.
But now that I'm thinking about it, Ferris Bueller was 86.
Yeah.
And this was 83. What if John Hughes just stole everything in Ferris Bueller from this movie? Because it's suspiciously similar. Just, that's all I'm going to say.
Yeah, the trivia was pretty good. It had a lot of stuff about Tom Cruise, how he auditioned, like that whole process, what people thought of him. That was a big thing. So they said, I'll just pull this trivia out now because I thought it was interesting. So he was a little bit older. And when you play high school kids, they always pick people who are around 20 years old. I feel like you're rarely picking people who are like actually high schoolers, right?
Yeah,
but to make him...
Nobody can act.
Exactly. So to make him, like, they want people with experience, right? Yeah. So they, to make him look like he was younger, they had him drop 10 pounds by, like, exercising every day and being totally crazy about a diet. Then he ate, like, a ton of, like, fatty foods to gain a layer of baby fat, like, really quickly. And then that's how they got him to appear younger. So girls, if you're looking to really, like, look younger, here's your secret.
Somehow I have a feeling that is not a two-way door situation, and girls, the women do not have the same effect when attempting that.
But when I had that fact in my head and I was like looking at him in this movie, I'm like, yeah, it totally worked, because sometimes he does look like this like dough-faced little boy, and especially when they like have his hair in this like little bowl cut, because after the crazy like vigorous bike scene, his hair is all like sweaty and it's kind of like pulled up and it looks a little bit more like normal Tom Cruise, and you're like, okay, like he looks kind of he looks 20 years old there. But when he's like has the bowl cut, you're like, oh my god, you like little shit.
Yeah,
totally. But like he was good. I mean, he was good. He's, you know, as we've always said about Tom Cruise, like, you know, kind of one note wonder. He's great at the one note.
He's like a 3-note wonder, because like he does the same at least 3 emotions in all of his movie. Mm-hmm. The one where he's laughing so hard, he seems like he's crying. Seen it, Tom. Seen it. The one where he freaks out, which is our favorite one, is in like every movie. He has like one freak out scene, and then the third one is like emotional tears in the eyes, either from like. You know, so passionate about something or upset. Like those are the three. Those are the 3 emotions of Tom Cruise.
I'm going to correct you. I feel like there's a 4th one, because I feel like there's like an explaining one where he like is explaining something to somebody and he gets like really like smart sounding.
I don't know if is that an emotion, or is that like just like a thing that he does? Like, but you watch all, especially if you watch just movies like one after the other, as Sweetie and I basically have now. You notice some things, you notice some patterns. Right. Did you though freak out when what was it? Oh, he's walking out of the Drake Hotel like in Chicago, and then I was reading the trivia and they mentioned the Drake Hotel, and I was like, oh my god! And then but the trivia fact was, which was mentioned is a major plot point of Mission Impossible. Yeah. So good times.
We gotta go there. We gotta take a Sweetie pilgrimage to the Drake Hotel.
No, we need to do like a cross country. Like we're gonna hit all of our Sweetie spots that we want to go to. a road trip, and then we'll stop and we'll meet our fans along the way. Oh my God, that'd be so much fun. You should do that instead of going on a honeymoon.
Yeah. We should make a documentary about it.
I think that, oh my God. Or a podcast.
Two girls in a podcast meet all their fans and stop all their movie destinations. Like, that'd be fun.
Two sweeties. We're two sweeties. We're not girls. So who else was in this movie?
Okay. The beautiful, the talented, Rebecca DeMornay.
So I feel like I really only know her from Feds. Like, I feel like that is the vision, the image of her that sticks in my head. So it's uncomfortable for me to see her in these sexual things because I'm like, Ellie, like, what happened to you? On the other hand,
that Ellie vibe though to her.
Sometimes.
Didn't you feel?
She would say a certain, well, just because the way she talks or something.
Yeah.
But then there's also the like hand that rocks the cradle version of her that a lot of people have.
That's the only other thing I know her from.
Right. So it's like, whoa, that's like two crazy ends of the spectrum, you know?
Yeah.
This character is in between those, I guess.
Yeah, I don't really know what to make of Lana.
I don't really know what's going on there.
The prostitute. But she is, she's drop dead gorgeous. She is like along the lines for me of like a Kim Basinger or like a Michelle Pfeiffer, like totally insanely beautiful people. And you're like, who are these bitches? Like, what the fuck? Like, why are you so pretty? Like, she literally does not have like a bad look, like whatsoever. And her whole look in this is amazing. Like, they put her in these really cute clothes. Like, no matter what she's in, she looks like amazing. She's just like so perfect. And
she's high class.
We'll talk about it, but like, the rose-colored glasses on the prostitution thing is just that Hollywood does is like insane. I mean, did you have like a whole generation of little boys growing up being like, yeah, prostitutes, thinking they all look like Julia Roberts and this? I mean, and like that's not what a prostitute looks like.
And like their only want is to fall in love with some schmuck that they have to sleep with for money. Like, give me a break. Or just like, I mean, the sad situation, and I know it's not truly the case like this, but like at this time, like prostitution, I'm sure, and people saw this and were like, prostitution or like whatever, call girls is a very different situation where like, it's a sad thing. It's like you know what I mean? Like they're not like holed up in these nice apartments, like in these nice lofts where they live and like what?
It's so creepy, and like we'll talk about it, but those we don't really have prostitute movies anymore, but there was a huge string of them in the 80s and 90s.
It's like realistic prostitute.
Realistic, yeah. It's not glamorous, not a glamorous occupation. You also have Bronson Pinchot, first movie ever. You all know him probably as Balki from Perfect Strangers.
I don't.
You don't? Oh my God, I used to love that show. That was so funny.
I know him from a little movie called First Wives Club.
Yes.
That's my main association with him, so yeah.
So he's friends with him in this. Edward Mazer, our favorite, Mr. Boogedy Dad / the uncle.
Is it Ed?
It's not Edward?
Henry? No. Richard?
Richard. Why did I put Ed?
I'm pretty sure we did this. I'm pretty sure we did this exact same exchange in a previous one. We'll play back the tape.
Mr. Boogedy Dad, uncle from My Girl. Many roles. Excellent. He's a brief role, but a good one. Joe Pantoliano, better known as one of the brother Fratellis in Goonies.
Yeah,
very young and like looks very different. I mean,
he's like he's a bit of a chameleon like character actor. Like totally. He pops up in so many random fucking movies. He's like in The Matrix too, right? And
Matrix. He's the police chief in Bad Boys. I don't know if you've ever seen that. He's like all over the place. But yeah, as Guido the Killer Pimp, love him.
You mean the manager?
Yeah, the manager. I'm like, good one. Nice euphemism, Lana. And then
it's Lana.
Lana.
That's what Tom Cruise called her.
I know. I think it's Lana.
Everyone else called her Lana.
Yeah, that name is not pronounced
Lana.
Lana.
You've got it wrong.
He's an idiot.
You're saying it wrong.
So they also put Sean Penn and Megan Mullally having small roles in this, but I did not see them.
Yeah, I missed it. They said it was like Sean Penn did it as a favor or something for the director, but like, why do you need a favor? Like, what? Oh,
Yeah,
I couldn't
'cause
get
it's-
some random person to sit in this car next to Tom Cruise. Can anyone help me? Like, what do you mean you can find someone? Give me
Just
a break.
visiting the set one day. Feels like that. What was that movie that we felt like that was like all the like guest stars
yeah.
were just all these random? Oh,
Yeah.
Hook maybe.
No, the one where like somebody's the like angry guy
No,
outside the taxi.
No, but it was
Planes,
also
trains,
Hook.
and Kevin Bacon.
No, but it was also Hook too, because like all these like random
Glenn
people had all
Close.
these small parts that were like they were barely on screen. I'm like, why are you in this?
Keith Richards, yeah.
Yeah.
Like, really weird. And when we got in a fight over like whether or not that was Glenn Close, and you didn't believe me, and then it was good times.
Oh, it was good
Great times. Anyways, but yeah, I think that's it for names. Music provided by Tangerine Dream.
Whoa. It
don't
was a very
know.
special score, I will say. It really stuck out to me. Not only the very like timely of the moment 80s jams, so obviously the Bob Seger song, you had the huge Phil Collins song In the Air Tonight, and I want to say like one other one I've noticed that was like really good.
Yeah.
But then like the actual like score was quite interesting.
It was very dream sequences, which is strange because their name is Tangerine Dream. Just only, brings more evidence to my theory here that this is all just one extended dream sequence. But anyways, as I was telling Sweetie, as I was telling you before we started, I had to rewind this movie like 20 times because I'd be watching it and then I'd like look away for a second and then there'd be like just like something totally weird and different that like had nothing to do with the previous 5 seconds, and I'd be like, wait a minute, what just happened? Like, for instance, I was just like, I don't know, I was like cutting into my meatloaf that I made for dinner tonight, and all of a sudden his friend was like, they had a fight over the phone and then they hung it up. And then I look away for like 3 seconds and then there's a prostitute walking up to the door. And I'm like, well, how did this escalate so quickly? And I had to like go back and watch it again because I was like, how did they get this? So it was just so strange. It was such a strange movie. And my favorite trivia fact from this is that in The Wise, Rob Lowe's autobiography, he is quoted as saying that he was offered the role of Tom Cruise's that in this movie, but he turned it down because he thought it was weird. Rob, I'm right there with you 110%. What is this movie, Rob? Please. Please.
I know. How did they get anyone to do this movie? I also read Diane Lane wanted to, like, Tom Cruise tried to, because he worked with her on The Outsiders, to read for the part of Lana, and she was like, my dad was like, there's no way you're playing a 20-year-old prostitute.
My dad's the minister from Footloose, and he won't let me be in this movie. It's so weird, but yeah, I can't. This is going to be a really interesting synopsis because there's at least 5 plot twists that I don't know how we arrived there that I'm going to need your help on because I just have there's a huge chunk missing for me.
Yeah, I think it's let's just think about it as like a whole extended like dream sequence for him, I want to say.
Well, which is great because, dreams make a ton of sense. So I think we'll be able to really suss this one out.
I mean, it has to be a dream because there's no way someone gets into Princeton with a 3.1 grade point average and like a 1050 on the SATs. I don't care if this is 1983. That's like insane.
I don't care if you're running a brothel and the interviewer guy gets lucky with 2 of them, even though there's literally 500 prostitutes in one place.
Like, I know you're a legacy, but like you have a B average. Like, you're not going to fucking Princeton.
Right. I just have a lot of I just have like so many concerns about like personal hygiene and like what was like the sanitation situation like in that temporary brothel. Like, I just have a lot of questions. But let's start it because this is gonna be interesting.
It's time for the Sweetie Synopsis. Yeah,
Sweeties.
Can't believe I got a trig midterm tomorrow and I'm being chased by Guido the Killer Pimp. I do love that line. I also like the line, well, I guess it's Illinois State or something.
Yeah, with the glasses, the classic picture. So funny. Joel, what's his last name? Don't know.
I forgot.
Joel somebody, living in, Chicago. high school senior, getting ready to go to college. He wants to go to Princeton, like Sweetie said. I guess he's a legacy. Didn't catch that. But he's pretty well off. His parents are very rich. His dad has a Porsche.
Only child.
He's an only child. He could have everything he ever would want, but he's missing something. He's missing something in his life. What could it be? Is it sex? Is it money? We don't know. So his parents are going away and did you catch how long they were going to be gone for? Because it seemed like a year. But
yeah, it seems like a long time. I feel like it was only a week or a week and a half. Are they going to visit their some aunt Tipsy or something? I don't know.
I don't know. Were they on a cruise? I don't know. Like I have no idea.
Why are you so dressed up?
Right? Yeah. Why are they in ball gowns?
Ball gowns. But then they're drinking tiki drinks by the pool. But then at one point he's asking about some relative they're staying with or who was sick. Okay. I don't know. So,
I was convinced it was a cruise.
They're on, let's say, a 2-week vacation.
2-week vacation. Joel's got the place to himself. Super psyched about it. So. Again, I don't know how this happens, but he and his friend Joel is complaining because he didn't have sex with the babysitter like he wanted to or something. Which is his girlfriend or just some girl he knows?
No, wasn't that just a masturbation dream that he was having about having sex with a babysitter? Or he was telling that story or something?
His friends were like, what did you do? She was giving the kid a bath. And then they were like, "Oh, you definitely had sex with her." And then he doesn't say anything. I don't know
because it was after the dream sequence he describes in the beginning,
right? And then his friends just changed the subject and are "So what happened?"
So I missed that.
So again, nothing makes sense here. But so then he's messing around with his friend or whatever, and they're looking at call girl ads in the newspaper, back in the day. Ads, very dangerous business.
I know.
This call girl thing was what?
Just
all
showing
you have
up at
to
somebody's
do, guys,
house
is call a number, leave a message that says your name and your address, and they will come to you and have sex with you, supposedly. So his friend,
no even confirmation on the time or anything.
Right.
Seems like
none
a bad
of that.
business model.
And okay, do you need me to be discreet or not? There's no discussion, no safety or price discuss. It's crazy.
Right.
So, he kind of doesn't believe that his friend would do that. He's like, oh, he must have been joking around or whatever. So later that night, Joel is at his house and he hears high heels approaching the house and the doorbell rings and he opens it and it is Jackie, the call girl. Or should I say the man, because they don't do a very good subtle job here of showing you this big beefy man. Basically, well, it's hard to say now. You're are they suggesting that she is transgendered, or are they suggesting that he is just a man who dresses up, in the 80s and 90s, it was transvestite of a person who had a kink for dressing up like a woman versus someone who is a woman. I wasn't sure how to read this.
Some guys like that.
Right.
You look like a woman but have a penis.
But also, Joel never seems to acknowledge the fact that this might be a man. Right. Whereas I feel they're giving a very blunt to the audience, this is a man, It was very strange.
Yeah. Well, I feel they were trying to show not the sort of seedy, sort of somewhat weird side to the prostitution call girl game, but also that the friend probably picked an ad that said something specifically that to fuck with his friend. He didn't pick one that was hot blonde girl. He picked one that was maybe something a little bit more kink. And that's who he wanted to show up at his house, which happens.
You mean
but Jackie is very nice. I mean, I would have been much meaner in that situation.
Jackie is so cool.
She's my favorite character in the whole film.
She's just chilling. She's I'm gonna have some tea.
I know, she's drinking coffee.
And then she does a great nice thing and jots down a number of one of her call girl friends or something, and gives it to Joel. And then Joel does some weird shit. He's got a weird blinking red light in his bedroom and has a dream about the babysitter. And then his parents and the cops busting in on him, come out with your hands up. And then
get off the babysitter.
He's just like freaking out. And he's like, I need to have sex. And then he's like going through the ads. He comes across, he's like, short arm? Nope. Double trouble? Nope. Fancy lady? Nope. And then
Twins,
he's just like,
don't forget
forget
twins.
it. I said double trouble.
Oh, double trouble.
He's like, forget it. Like crumples it up and throws it away. And then he sees the number that Jackie wrote on the card for Lana. And he calls and he's like, Lana. And I'm surprised she wasn't like, it's Lana. But she asked him like where he lives or whatever. And it's not a long exchange, like we said. He's just chilling on the couch, hears somebody approach. And this somebody just lets themselves in. It's very strange. The door just peeks open. And who should come in? But Lana. And Lana is a babe, you guys. Like, what are those legs? What is happening? What is happening there? She's gorgeous. She's a babe. She's a dish, total dish. And, you know, as most sexual encounters happen when you are a teenager and it's your first time, as it usually happens, you know, it's like a steamy romance right off the bat. You're just like, I know what to do. And you just become this like porn star. And then you have sex for 6 hours because when the first time you have sex, you don't have, it's not like you orgasm the moment you take your pants off. Like, it's, what is happening?
This is crazy. So it's like very, I mean, it's, I thought it was a dream sequence. I mean, the whole thing is probably a dream.
And they were going to be like, just kidding.
Yeah, that she was going to, then it was going to be like, okay, then she's really knocking on the door. And then he like answers with like sleepies in his eyes and stuff like that. Because he was like sleeping.
And then they bond over board games or something.
Yeah, exactly. But no, she like comes in, she like, he goes behind her. She's like, what does she say? Oh, Joel, are you ready for me? And then all of a sudden he's like feeling her up. Her dress
sorry. Wait, I have to correct you. I have to correct you. It's not Joel anymore, sweetie. It's AKA Ralph.
Ralph. Worst fake name ever. Why would you pick Ralph? It's the worst.
So bad.
Ralph equals barf.
Are you ready for me, Ralph?
Yeah, are you ready for me, Ralph? So then like the door whips open, so then it creates this like wind tunnel and her dress is like all moving up, but just enough where her boobs are still kind of covered, which is like unbelievable. They must have taped it down.
I thought it was a wrap dress and he just like it
was like buttoned up the front, I think. And then there's like leaves blowing in and then you're like, okay, this is too much. And then you think that's too much, but then they're suddenly doing it on the stairs. They're doing it in his dad's office chair. And you're like, okay, this is now over the top. If you didn't think the leaves was over the top, this just went up to like a 25. Like, what the hell?
Like, it's not realistic, you guys. I am sorry if you were a young boy who watched this. And you were like, wow, my first time is going to be sweet. I'm going to be a fucking, I'm going to be awesome. And then in reality, you know, they blow it before they get the condom on, and it's like it's a sad thing.
It's so crazy.
I couldn't believe it.
And the most unrealistic part is that she's still there in the morning.
She's still there in the morning, like it's just like a fucking sleepover.
Yeah.
And they're like having breakfast, and then she's like, "So Ralph,
she's making breakfast."
Oh yeah. She's like, "You owe me $300," and he's like, "What?" And I'm like,
"This is the other unrealistic part. What does he not understand about how call girls work? Do you think she was just going to show up and it was like a good time? And she's like, well, that was great. See ya. Like you have to pay. She's not just coming there for for fun.
She's coming there because he's great and she deserves to be loved by someone like him.
I mean, he went through the thing with the transvestite prostitute or transgender prostitute. So, like, he knew there was, like, money needed to be exchanged. I'm so unclear why he was like, $300? What?
We have $5 left.
I gotta go get money from my savings bond. Be right back.
Okay. Yeah. So, you know, it's 1983. Everyone has a fucking savings bond cooking in the bank. Bank.
I bet I have like thousands of dollars in savings bonds. Yeah.
What? Where are they?
They're in some bank somewhere.
What? No. Call Carol because I don't believe that.
Sweetie, does that bank still exist where the Hearth and Kettle used to be? Because I had some savings bonds in there. Do you remember that bank? On the other side of that plaza? Park and Kettle.
Yeah, that's still there.
It's still there? Shit, I should go in.
I don't think that's how it works. You need like a certificate that's like you have a bond that will mature in X amount of years.
Oh, I need it? Maybe Mom has it. We should look into that. Because I definitely had a couple. Like, that's what grandparents used to give. They used to give you a fucking savings bond.
Okay, you've just seen too many movies where, like, that's in all the movies. No. And then, okay, well, if we have savings, because this has been my dream for, like, all of my life, is to be like, oh, by the way, here's this old savings bond. And then you do it, and they're like, here you go, $20,000. Like, that's been my dream. That's the dream. So, but as far as I know, we don't have one, but we'll ask Carol and get back to you. So Joel is like, well, I'm going to have to cash out the old savings bond, to pay this prostitute. So he goes to the bank, gets his money, and then gives it to her.
No, comes back and she's gone.
Oh, okay. Yeah. So he's fine with just like leaving her in the house. Right. And then he comes back and she's gone. Has she taken anything at this point?
So she has taken something.
Oh, okay. So I missed this part too. And I was like, where did she go? And why is he upset? So, okay, now it makes sense. And this makes sense of why later he was like, don't take anything. Don't take anything. And I just thought he was being a dick.
Yeah.
But
so,
true.
I mean, here's the deal with Joel and his parents, right? So his parents, yes, very wealthy. His house is like any like suburban rich house. You know, there's all this like strange decorations everywhere, and you're like, why is this here? Why are these like weird teacups here? Why is this weird little statue here? Why are these weird little figurines here? Right? So it's a mom with like that kind of decorating scheme, and the centerpiece of the whole house seems to be this crystal egg, which I guess is like also like a backlit. I didn't notice that till the very end when she comes home. It's like there's a light and it like can backlit the whole thing. So it's this, who knows, crazy crystal egg. It is like basically the mom's second child. She fucking loves it. So what is missing but this ugly but very important crystal egg? Oh no, if there's anything you like should not be stealing in this house, it's this crystal egg, right?
She stole the crystal egg?
Yep.
Wow. Crazy. Okay. So... okay, so then he's like, I'm going to find her. So now how does he track her down? This is something else I missed. To this hotel or whatever. The Drake
I don't
hotel.
know. I don't know if I wasn't listening, if she had said something about that or that's where she usually works or something. I don't know. So
maybe
it must have been something like that.
Okay, all right. I'm glad we both missed it because I was like, how the fuck did
it was
what
not
is this
clear to
weird
me ever
detective work?
At all.
So
unless he was like, oh, she's a classy prostitute. Like she must hang out at the Drake Hotel. I don't know.
And then they just sit at a table and they're just like, she'll be here. I know it. And then who should come in? But it's her. And she's with a guy. And she sees them and he like waves to her. And then that's it. And then she kind of like goes off on her own with this person. And then they go back out to the Porsche, you know, waiting on the streets of Chicago. And I don't know how they got that spot, but whatever. And they try to get in the car, and then Lana walks up and is like, hey, Joel, hey. Do you like this recreation? I sound just like them. Hey, do you want to go in your car and discuss something? Is this your car? Do you want to go inside of it? And so they go inside, and then her manager, quote unquote, comes out, Guido, and is like, open the door, like, get out of there. He's like all crazy and mean. And he has this like little pistol, this like little like fucking like little dick gun or whatever. Like, what are those little, like, those are like the guns they give women. They're like, here, you can have this little tiny pistol.
But it was like a revolver.
Whatever. I don't know the gun names. So they're like, drive, Joel, drive. And he's like freaking out. I don't know what he's going to accomplish by being like, excuse me? Gee golly, why are you hammering on my window?
Well,
like,
he's obsessed with
get the
finding out where the egg is. So he just wants to know, where's the egg? And even his friend, who is like, 100% more street smarts than he does, is like, let's get the fuck out of here. Like when some guy with chains comes and like starts yelling at you and banging on the car and you have a prostitute sitting in the front seat, like you get the fuck out of there.
It is time to go.
Like, what an idiot. Like, move it. So then he pulls out the gun and then Joel's finally like, oh yeah, like I should probably go. He's such an idiot. So they start the car and he's still kind of like harassing her about where the egg is and stuff, and she's kind of playing like games with him, like, oh, like I don't know, like blah, blah, blah. And then the pimp starts following them, so they get kind of freaked out. And then all of a sudden, Joel like whips out these crazy sports car driving skills and is like able to lose the pimp by doing all these like crazy moves.
He just learned to drive stick like yesterday because he's still having trouble. Just now, when they were fleeing the scene, he couldn't get the car to start. Yeah. So I don't know what's happened, but yes, at some point he's become a stunt driver, race car driver, something. Pulls all these crazy moves, loses them. They drive back to his house, right? Mm-hmm. And then they have a sleepover?
Yep. With
his friend, or his friend goes home?
No, I think his friend has to go home, but him and Lana have another like sexy night, and like who knows what's happening here.
Right.
Whether she really likes him, because she doesn't charge him for that one. And she gets very offended when he even suggests, like, do I owe you more money? Mm-hmm. Did I say you owe me money, Joel? Like, whatever. So she is getting the, idea that this is a wealthy house. This is a situation she could get into. She starts going through the house and looking at, so he has to go to school. Okay, remember he's a senior in high school. And he gets picked up by his friends, but he won't leave until she leaves. And then she's like, you don't trust me, and blah, blah, blah. So
he's like, finally... there's this beautiful prostitute in my house and she won't leave.
Yeah, like huge problem. But he knows like she's already stolen something. So he's like, okay, I'll leave you here if you promise not to steal anything. And she's like, I'm not going to steal anything. But she spends the time like basically casing the joint and figuring out like, ooh, like what's this rug? Like what are these like silver candlesticks? Wow, like nice flatware. She takes the Porsche and goes and picks up her call girl friend, Vicky. Like her name's Vicky. At the train station. And so when Joel comes home from school, now there's 2 prostitutes in his house. And his friend, Miles, who was in the car with them when they were being chased by Guido, the killer pimp, has told his other friends. So like they go and show up in the house. They go meet the prostitute. Did that lanky friend like sleep with Vicky? Was there enough time for it? The curly haired one with like the weird teeth? No.
Yeah, I thought so.
One.
I thought that was implied.
So he had enough time to like go and get money because he like ends up going to get a savings bond or whatever to pay for his thing too. That happened in that short amount of time that Joel was like still in school.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, are we dissecting for plot holes? Let's name them. Let's name them all one at a time. Yeah. But yeah, that is suspicious. But so yeah, Joel's walking up and he sees his friend. He's like, "Did you have sex with her?" And he's like, "I don't know." He thinks that he had sex with Lana, but he's like, "No, I had sex with Vicky." And he's like, "Who's Vicky?" And then he meets this other prostitute. So then what happens? And then they go out. They go out with Vicky and Lana and that other guy, right?
So then Vicky and Lana, they claim that they are like not going to be working for their pimp anymore. So Guido shows up at the house and he's like, "What are you guys doing? Like get out, like come back." And they're like, "We're working for Joel now." So he's like, the pimp is all like mad at Joel because he thinks like he doesn't think he's the new pimp, but he's like, "What is going on here?" But the girls are like, "Okay, we can't go back to our apartment and we need a place to stay, but only for a night. We'll try to find another place tomorrow, but like we've called around and we can't find anybody to stay with." So he makes some TV dinners. He tries to study, but they convince him to go get high and get ice cream. So they go and smoke a bunch of weed.
Did you think that ice cream was like code name for like some other drug, like cocaine or heroin or something?
Yeah,
I was like,
probably.
it must mean something else. No, but no, they really went and got ice cream.
Yeah, just light drugs. So they're just smoking pot. He invites his friend, the Bronson Pinchot character, and they do smoke a lot of pot. They eat ice cream, and then like I forgot what that guy's name is. Him and Vicky, the prostitute, go on a walk, and then him and Lana are like kind of talking, and they try to like get to know each other a little bit better because they've only really had these like intense sexual experiences, and like she's kind of smart and kind of like wily with him, but not ever really getting to know. He like wants to like know like what she's all about. So he starts being like a little bit patronizing though, because he's like, "Whoa, like why are you doing this?" And she's like, "Or why'd you run away from home? Like why aren't you in school? Like you should go to college." Like all this stuff. And she's kind of like, "Fuck you, dude. Like I am a prostitute. Like, I'm not here because I could have gone to Harvard. Like, that was not an option for me. And she says it like, oh, like, here you are judging me and you're sitting on your dad's like $40,000 Porsche. Like, you don't, you know, you're just like a product of like a rich family. Like, you don't, you know, you're no mother than me. To the point where so they're sitting on the Porsche, which is dad's Porsche, which he's been driving all around. She gets her purse out of it and then like puts the car in neutral. And then like when she gets off of it, the car like starts like driving forward and she locks the keys in the car so he can't like open the door and go get it. So the car, and it's like a slight downslope down to
does he know that she did that?
Michigan. Yeah, I think so.
Or okay. I thought he thought it was like an accident or like something.
No.
Like, okay.
So it is like at the end of this dock and it stops right before it gets to the end of the dock. And you're like, oh, good, thank God. Because, you know, it's not that you like feel bad for him, but he does just keep like having these highs and lows. Like stuff will be fine and then something will go wrong. It's kind of like the whole movie, right? So the car stops just in time and you're like, whew. And then the whole dock collapses and then the Porsche like goes like full on into Lake Michigan, completely flooded. And you're like, oh shit, how is he going to get out of this one?
How's he going to get out?
So then they show him at the Porsche dealer and then, you know, they're going to fix it and everything, but obviously it's going to cost a lot of money. So he's like kind of freaking out at this point.
I didn't think it was, you know, salvageable.
They just like wet back that shit. It's fine. What? So he's like, oh shit, like I still don't have my mom's egg. The Porsche is now ruined and I lost my prostitute girlfriend. Like, what the fuck? So he like shows up to school late. He misses midterms. Like basically the end of the year is kind of like going down the toilet for him.
But where does she say the egg is? Where does she say it is?
In her
apartment,
Why are they
still hanging out? Oh, okay. And she can't go back because Guido the pimp is there or whatever.
Yeah, like he locked the apartment or something like that. Yeah. I don't know. Okay. But then I kind of like looked away, like you said, and I kind of like forgot what happened here because all of a sudden, like he's back with her and they're like doing this like new entrepreneurial brothel scheme. And all of a sudden he's wearing like blazers and sunglasses.
So, right. So he goes back he's upset about the Porsche or whatever. They're like at the dealership. He realizes how much money it's going to cost and like doesn't have it. And he's just like super upset or whatever. And then I think when he gets on the bicycle or no, he like tries to go to the nurse and be like, I'm sick. And she like won't like let him be excused because if he gets one more tardy or like out of school, he
gets
won't
suspended.
be able to graduate or something.
He gets suspended.
He grabs the nurse by her
I
neck
know.
and is like, "You have to let me do this because I'm a privileged white male."
I know that part was so shady. I was like,
so weird.
This isn't helping
like,
your case.
Why are you listening to me? I'm like, because you did a bad thing. Like, you're saying what you did as a way to like excuse it, but what you did is not excusable. Like, there's no logic there. So yeah, he gets suspended. So he's like super upset, and he's like, give me a bike. I need a bike. And he just like gets on the bicycle. That's right, the bicycle, folks, and pedals away into the city of Chicago. Who knows how many miles he biked? Did he have to go on a freeway? I don't know. He arrives at Lana's digs, which pretty nice, pretty posh. They got nice decorations. Everyone has their own bed. It's very nice in there. He just goes in there and just, you know, goes right into her arms and cries because he's so upset. He doesn't know what to do. What am I going to do? What am I going to do? Lana is a slight businesswoman herself, I guess. She thinks that, hey, we made that like quick $50 from your friend that slept with Vicky because it's your house. And I guess money half goes to the homeowner or whatever that rule, whatever that call girl rule, brother rule is or whatever. And she's like, I could introduce my friends to your friends. We could make all the money that you need to like fix the Porsche. So he's like not into it, but then whatever, they do it anyways because he realizes that like they might have something here. So then they like start spreading the word about this, like, you know, on the casual brothel at old Joel's house. They like buy rollaway cots and beds to like, ew, which is like, but where are they putting those beds that like don't already have beds that aren't living rooms? Or like, I'm just so concerned about like, what if there's like 5 beds in one room and there's like 5 people in there having sex? Like those are the kinds of, it's just like really grossed me out. And like, why are there so many boys in this town and they all have savings bonds? Like, It's nuts.
Yeah, it's really creepy. And then you have Joel sort of, they have this part where he is in like Future Enterprisers or something. It's like this future entrepreneur club, which like he wants to be with his friend, and it's about basically like making a business model and like an invention and then selling it. So he has this sort of like in him to be this sort of like shisty little salesman, which is basically like a real personality trait that I equate with like Tom Cruise roles.
Totally.
I'm just thinking of like Rain Man or
Jerry
something.
Maguire.
He's like, yeah, exactly. Like, I don't know, that guy like totally could have been a salesman in real life because he's like very good at it. But
or maybe he's just a really good actor.
Maybe he's just acting. But he's like I said, he puts on a blazer, he puts on these like Ray-Ban Wayfarers, and all of a sudden he's just like talking to guys at like the gas station, like coming up. He smokes now too. Don't forget, he smokes. He like drapes his arms around guys, like you know, there's like always that weird scene, I feel like in 80s movies where you have people watching TVs in like a department store window. Like they're out on the street and they're watching a TV inside. Like, what is with that? So you have these guys, I forget like what they were watching too, but then he comes up behind them and just like drapes his arms around them with this like lit cigarette. And he's like, hey fellas.
He's like, fellas, I know what you're thinking. When can I get laid? And the problem is, I don't know. But I do know because I have a brothel.
Yeah, it was so funny. So he becomes this like total salesman now and just like trying to sell this whole business concept of basically like this suburban brothel, right? For all these like high school boys. Wicked shady. But, you know, it actually does work out because they make a lot of money. And at the same time, he forgot about an interview he was having with Princeton. So, you know, if you've ever done college, like when you apply for college, if you remember, like you can get these interviews, which usually by like alum will come, you know, you'll go and meet them somewhere and then they work, you know, kind of like for the college.
But in like movies and TV, they always came to the person.
I know. Yeah, I know. I'm like, I don't think that's how it works. But this guy shows up and Joel's like, oh shit. So he has to like go into a room and have this interview with this guy, you know, try to get into Princeton. And, you know, he's kind of, Lana's coming in and out, moving rollaway beds. She's like asking all these questions. He's trying to concentrate, but really his eyes not only on like what he's doing, but also this new like girlfriend he has, quote unquote girlfriend. So he's kind of like, you know what? Like, fuck this. Like, and his friend says this quote at the beginning. You got to like, Joel isn't like a what the fuck guy. He's like a real straight arrow. And his friend's like, sometimes you just got to say like, what the fuck? And like, that's just how life is. And like, you got to be ready for stuff and know it's not going to go your way or whatever. So he kind of adopts this as this like new mantra being like, well, you know, not what I had planned, but like, it is what it is. So he goes like, you know, blah, 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 like whatever the interviewer is, like sometimes you just got to say like, what the fuck?
I guess it's Michigan State or whatever.
Yes, it's like Illinois State. So he's convinced he doesn't get into Princeton. So he's like, fine, whatever. So then he goes and plays with some toy trains in the basement to get over it.
As you do.
Yep. And then his parents call and they hear all these people there and they're like, is there a party? And he's like, there's no party. There's not tons of 25 prostitutes and like half of my senior class here. What are you talking about? So his parents are like, don't forget, pick us up at the airport and like Saturday at blah, blah, blah time. And then Lana in his ear is like, have you ever had sex on a real train? I don't know what she thinks a real train is, but I think a real train is like Amtrak. And like they end up going to the subway. Yeah. They go to the L to go and have sex. And so then it's this whole other weird scene, which you're like, I do not know what is going on. But like they end up going to the L in like the middle of the night to have sex on it. And there's all these people on it. So you're like, okay, this might be awkward. So you're thinking that. Joel's thinking that. And then Lana's like, well, you just got to wait. So I guess you just wait for everyone to get off. Before then you can have
get off before you can.
Whoa.
But there's one holdout and it's like some crusty homeless guy who's just like loving it and is just like eating a cracker or whatever. And then like the next scene, Joel is like holding him up and then like drags him out of the D and sets him on a bench. Like, did he get like drunk or something and passed out?
Oh yeah.
But he was eating crackers or whatever. So then finally they're alone. So now they get to do it. So then he like takes off her underwear, which is like too much of an underwear shot, like for me.
Yeah.
Too close for comfort. Like I don't need to see the inside of somebody's underwear.
I think it was a thong.
It's still underwear, sweetie.
No, but I know, but that makes it even worse. I don't know. But it's just like kind of
skid mark.
But it's like a slow-mo kind of like music video almost sex scene. I don't know. It's like it's really so awkward.
So they have sex again. You're like, hey, and then when they go back home.
Yep.
And then what happens? They get the car back, and then
well, they don't go
morning?
back home. They show him going to the Porsche dealer immediately and picking up the car,
and then
he rolls in. I guess she go. I don't know where she goes because when he goes home, he realizes that the house is completely empty. Someone has stolen all of the furniture out of it. So he calls Lana. She's not answering, but then she doesn't answer. But then Guido, the pimp, does. And he's talking to him and realizes that Guido was the one who stole all the furniture, and his parents are now coming home in 2 hours. He's supposed to pick him up at the airport in 2 hours. His house is completely devoid of furniture. There's nothing left. And Guido is like, well, I like you, Joel, and blah, blah, blah. So basically, he just cons him, rolls up with a U-Haul full of the family's, all the furniture from the family house, and has Joel buy back all of his own furniture. So this seems like, and who is in the van but Vicky, the other prostitute. So it seems like this was a scam to begin with, right? Like this seems like Joel was played. But you wouldn't think that, because what happens is he pays for all the damn furniture, by some miracle gets it all into the house before his parents come home.
Perhaps the most.
He pulls an Adventures in Babysitting and literally jumps on the couch right when his parents come in and is like fake reading a magazine, like, oh, hey, you're home already? And they're like, what the fuck? You're supposed to pick us up at the airport. Totally like acting like stupid and oblivious. Everything's like kind of okay until the mom goes and picks up her egg. Of course she would. And finds there's a crack on the inside of the egg.
And like, what? And then isn't that because Vicky fucking like throws the egg when like she gives it to him at the end?
But he caught it.
Right. So maybe it's not, I don't know, whatever. Yeah. But she notices that. So he's like, guess I got in trouble anyway.
Joel, I'm very disappointed in you. I'm like, well, Mom, if you only knew, which is supposed to be the whole joke, right?
If you only had a black light and could see what happened to your bedroom.
Oh my God. So then the dad, who's like a little bit nicer, is like, well, don't worry about it, son. Like, you can pay for it. Like, we'll get a new egg. You can pay for it by doing like extra yard work. So you see him out there like raking, and then he goes into the shed and is going to close the door. And then all of a sudden his dad like appears behind the door like a creep. And he's like, son, do you have to tell me something? And you're like, oh no, like he knows about the Porsche or like whatever the fuck other stuff, And he's like, Mr. Blah Blah called, the interviewer guy, who, I don't know if we said this. So he stays at the brothel, the interviewer guy, the adult, and has sex with a bunch of prostitutes.
So like that's so weird. So
yeah.
strange.
So that puts Joel's application over the edge for sure. And so he ends up getting into Princeton after all. So despite like not really finishing senior year because he got suspended, missing all those midterms, like fucking up his interview, like. All you have to do,
opening
up a brothel. All you have to do is like get your interviewer laid a couple times, and you will be into Princeton for sure.
You can have whatever you want. You can even have a girlfriend who's as beautiful as Rebecca DeMornay, but is probably still a prostitute. I don't know. Did she say she was going to end the career? I don't know.
What? No. So that's the worst part. So explain the ending, because it doesn't make any sense.
I don't even know. I don't know. I was hoping you would, because I don't. I was like tuning out. I was like, is this over yet? And then, so yeah, you're like, oh, he got into Princeton, and then he like, there's all these voiceovers throughout the movie, and you're like, who are you talking to? And is he talking? He's like at this restaurant with Lana, and they're like, what? I don't know. What's going to happen with our life? And then they have a flash forward.
Are we going to stay together, I guess, or something? Like, because I think he's going to New Jersey to go to school. But so then he asked her basically, like, was this like a scam to begin with? Because the whole thing was that she was like, let's have sex on a real train, and got him out of the house so they could steal all the shit. So and she says like, I definitely was not in on that plan, but you won't believe me anyway. And it's like, damn straight, bitch. Of course I'm not going to believe you. You like scammed me from the beginning like 20 times. You sold the egg. You like got like almost killed the Porsche. And then this, like, why would I believe you? Hello. It's so confusing.
Well,
but then they're all like cute and they're like, oh, and joking around and like, haha.
Did you read in the trivia why they had two endings, and like one was more pessimistic. It was like it was clear that she did con him, and then they kind of like go their separate ways, and he's all sad about it. And then the ending they changed it to was because teen romances like this were very big, and audiences reacted well to a positive ending. So they changed it to make it seem like she wasn't in on it. So that's why
this
that
a
is
romance?
like that.
I wouldn't say this is a romance.
It's ridiculous. Yeah. It's ridiculous. I had no idea that this is what this movie was about. Like, really, very few ideas. Did not expect this brothel. I didn't.
I'm unclear of the message, and I think there's supposed to be some sort of capitalism message, and like, do you want to make money or help people?
But he seems
like
to get away with it all and gets everything he wants. So, like, what is the lesson here?
I don't know what the lesson is.
The consequence is he has to rake leaves for an hour?
Right. What? He still gets to go to Princeton. Yeah.
Does he get his savings bond back? Like, what?
Yeah.
I don't know.
I don't understand totally what the point of this is. I mean, it's a fun movie. It's a good soundtrack. It's like entertaining, I'd say, but I'm not totally on board. Like, what was this movie trying to say?
As my friend Rob Lowe would say, it's weird. And
it was weird.
I don't like it. I don't like it. So I thought there's this part in the beginning that as kind of like a foreshadow, let's say, of events where his friend like knows his parents are gone. So he shows up with his girlfriend. It's like, hey man, I just thought I could borrow a room. And then they like go upstairs and have sex. Like, ew, gross. And then he and Bronson are like trying to do their school project, and they're like, like sex sounds upstairs. So upsetting.
Yeah, and they were like, oh, there's no place we could go. Like, have you ever heard of a car?
Like everyone else.
Exactly. No one has any place to go. You don't bop around to different people's houses whose parents are out of town. Like, what is this?
That's weird.
We don't have Korean War bunkers in our house like Greece too. God,
I know. That guy was such a slut. It was so weird.
So weird. Is that the same guy that had sex with Vicky?
Yes.
Okay. What? That's crazy. But yeah. So I thought that was gross. I thought this whole movie, again, like we said, is like a boy's fantasy of like, or a boy's idea of like what you do, whatever. So like, what would you do if your parents were out of town?
Yeah.
So it's a famous scene. So this is the scene. Everyone, people will dress like this on Halloween. It's like an iconic costume, let's say. But Tom Cruise just wears like a collared shirt, white socks, tidy whities, and then sunglasses. Or the Ray-Bans. Are they the Ray-Bans?
Wayfarer.
Or are they different? They're the same ones. Okay. So, and then you hear the music, sweetie, which Sweetie sang so beautifully for us already.
Can we play it right now?
The piano chords.
I did pull it up before I can do it. Oh, I can do it. I mean, the beginning is so iconic of that song. I love it.
I know.
Bob Seger and the Silver Bullet Band, baby. Oh, here he is. Greatest hits. Gonna be number one. Here's.
Can't wait. I'm on the edge of my seat.
Oh, you can't hear it.
Oh, no.
Because it's on my headphones. I was hearing it. I was like, yeah. Damn, we got to play it. Can you add it later?
Maybe. We might get sued, but I'll see what I can do. So I hope you all enjoyed that that clip of Bob Seger's. In case you forget what it sounded like, it goes. So yeah,
I will say, so that I was somewhat like, I hadn't seen that scene in a while, and I was like somewhat underwhelmed by it. I was like, wait, this is... And I think I was underwhelmed by it because Tom Cruise dancing is so bad.
Well, he's like dancing, but like what I find more strange is his like strange gymnastics that he just like will get into on the couch. Like there, he does the like he like jumps and then bounces off his back, and then you see his like legs like I can't handle the men with the spread legs and the tiny whiteys. Like, how is a ball not falling out of there? What is securing it in there? So it was a little too much for me to see at that time.
No,
but
it's still good. It's so iconic, and it was like just like a moment, which I feel like if you're right, like if your parents left you home alone, that's the first thing you would do, and that's the first thing he does. I mean, yes, he goes over the top when he like invites prostitutes over, but it's like it's a big deal.
Well, that was my question for you: is what would you do? What was the thing that you used to do if you were home alone when you were little? Like, what would you do?
I think probably that in like some form of another.
You did that?
That's
what you did.
Yeah.
I would belt out Broadway tunes.
So loudly.
I'd sing as loud as I could and like didn't care.
Dancing.
It was so fun. I loved it. I loved my time alone.
I mean, I remember, I'll say like my nearest like thing to this is when I had roommates and they were gone, they wouldn't be there. So I could do whatever I wanted. When I lived alone, obviously not a deal. That was one thing I used to do. I used to put on my headphones because I wouldn't like want to wake up anybody else. But like the whole apartment was free, and I'd be like, yeah, and I'd be like dancing and like crazy like on my own. So I pulled a Tom Cruise risky business like not too long ago.
Mm-hmm. Dance in your underwear.
It's just like what you do. It was. I don't think it's my underwear, but it was. It's a good scene. It's a good song. It's awesome.
Yeah, very iconic.
Mm-hmm.
And then the rest of it is all, his other fantasies. Oh, a prostitute. My first time having sex is this blowout porn. Like, so great. Yeah, what else? Well, I mean, name it. You name it. Putting your hands on the nurse's neck and threatening her. Like, you can do whatever you want. That's it. Yeah, that's all I have.
It's a dream. It's a dream.
Has to be.
I agree. Yeah, it has to be. Okay, so what do I have left to chat about? Yeah, what was with the cash checks blinking neon sign in his bedroom? I have no idea.
That's why I'm like, is this like
an odd
suggesting
choice?
Something else?
I
like
don't know.
Like it's not reality. Like I just want to talk. And like this director, I was expecting him to like have secretly directed a bunch of like really cool movies. Or like whatever.
Me too.
He's only directed 3 things.
I know.
And the other 2 you've never heard of. He's written a bunch of stuff, but also you've never heard of it. So he's literally this like no-name person who made this weird fucking movie with Tom Cruise in the 80s, and that's it.
And it got super famous.
Mean something? It might not. I don't know. It's like it's a really weird. I'm so confused by it. It's an enigma.
Yeah, it does seem like a total outlier. So again, to bring up the sort of like, prostitute with a heart of gold. I mean, at least in this one, she's not really, it's not the same as like Julia Roberts or the, what's her name in Milk Money, Melanie Griffith. Though she is very smart, you can tell. And all the girls are very glamorous and pretty, and you have a side of prostitution that I don't think people are very, familiar with because it doesn't exist, except in Hollywood. And so I'm not sure why or what that fascination was with Hollywood in trying to bring sort of a glamour to that lifestyle, and why that was like themes of movies, or why that was important, or why it was like to bring like these prostitutes, this other side of prostitutes. And hey, look, I'm sure there's smart prostitutes out there. Like, I'm sure. But I don't think you necessarily go into prostitution because, like, you're a brilliant person who should be in the Ivy League. Like, I
think that the people that make these movies about prostitutes are men who think that prostitutes are this, like, dream scenario where all you have to do is pay money and someone will have sex with you, right? That's what they think it is.
Right.
Nothing crosses their mind where they're like, oh, this is this person's job that she's doing to like stay alive. Like they really think prostitutes are there for their benefit of like it is solely for them.
or that they even chose that life. And, I mean, they did choose
Right.
it in like a way,
Like, this
but
is a
there's no
girl who-
way that
Right.
that girl is doing that because she has other options and she chose that.
Right.
Like, I don't think people are like, yes. Like, I mean, in this
I'm
one,
going
they
into the sex biz. Yeah.
right. Like, I think in this way, in this movie, they try to frame it as Lana like ran away from home because her stepfather was trying to molest her. So yes, that's like dark and certainly a way to leave home. And it just seems like, okay, yes, a prostitution was a way to like get out of that because you have, you know, someone taking care of you, your manager, but also they like own you. And then they're always like these like free spirited prostitutes too, because she's like so like feisty and she's like, you don't own me, like blah blah blah. But you're like he's a pimp, like he doesn't own you, and like nobody owns you, but like you shouldn't, like this is not the business for you if you like don't want to be owned. Like I don't know what to tell you, like, and if you don't want to be owned, don't have a pimp, you know. It's that always that kind of a thing. And
Be a Julia
but like
Roberts.
exactly, like it's really hard just to work for yourself because yeah, you don't get the business and you don't get the protection, right? I mean, I know so much about prostitutes. I don't know what I saw recently where that was like
The Deuce.
was it The Deuce? I don't know.
I think so.
Right, but even I mean that is a pretty realistic kind of its own
Right.
thing, but
But
yeah,
it's crazy.
just, it's
It's
so
just, I don't
weird.
know, this
I don't know.
fascination, yeah. It's,
I don't know.
It's wacky, and they're all
And,
like,
like-
oh, they're so beautiful. They're these models. Like, yeah, that girl really is beautiful as that. Can only be a prostitute in life.
Exactly.
Like, give me a
Exactly.
break.
I don't think
called
so.
being
She
a
looks
model.
so nice. She has perfect teeth. She has immaculate clothing.
Right.
Like it's perfect
What
makeup. Like so clean. And I'm trying to think like, okay, if you saw this and you were like a little boy and you're like, oh yeah, like prostitutes, man. Almost how, you know, I feel like how it's treated in Milk Money a little bit because those guys are so young and they're like not even really like into the sex part. They're like in the
Right. They're like, they
we
just
just
wanna
want to
see
see a boob, but they're like the lowest level of that. I mean, they'll eventually be the Tom Cruise age guys are like, yeah, like we can have
They'll
sex with,
eventually
we
be
can
these
pay people to have sex
dickheads.
with us. Like amazing.
Yeah.
We don't have to put in any time or effort. Like we can just pay people. Like, wow, that's so revolutionary. But like what was that to us as little girls seeing this? And like, what did we think of the prostitutes, like from our angle? And like, I'm trying to remember.
Probably just that, like, she was really pretty and we wanted to be as pretty as she was. I don't know if,
Yeah.
like, the prostitute portion even comes in. But I would be interested to hear from a guy who saw this when they were little. And I would like to know how they're, like, what did they think sex and, like, having sex for the first time was going to be like?
Yeah.
And how did it compare to the real experience? I'd like to do a psychological study on that. I think it's really interesting.
Yeah, because I don't think anyone grows up being like, okay, that's definitely going to be the way I'm going to like lose my virginity. Like that will be an easy way to do it.
You have all these like ideas in your head and you're like, oh, my first time is going to be like so romantic, right? For women, it's always like, it's going to be so romantic and beautiful. And like, I might cry. I don't know. I might bleed a little. And then guys are like, oh, it's going to be like a porn. It's going to like pound that bitch. Like, I mean, I know you all don't say that, but I'm just speaking in like general terms here. Like guys are like hot and sexy sex, and women are like romantic, beautiful moment. And guys are like, I just want to have sex. Like that's how it's treated, anyways, in these movies. So I don't know. It's a terrible thing.
Yeah, it's just, and we really do still have to do the one because you know, obviously a little bit more of a female-dominated world, prostitution, but. You know, this is interesting because it's Patrick Dempsey in both cases. So we've talked about a lot of times where we've had these movies where you have like a girl gets all glammed up and then the popular guy likes her, right? But then we brought up the example of Can't Buy Me Love where it was the opposite. And we're like, that's cool. And that was an 80s movie. Now we talk about all these ones about prostitutes, all from the angle of women. But we do have another prostitute movie that flips that on its head with the movie Loverboy, which also stars Patrick Dempsey, which are like pretty cool.
It's not, because like that's like, oh, like it's just like a casual, like not a cat. I keep saying casual, but like a unexpected prostitute situation where he's just like, oh, this woman thought I wanted to have sex with her. Now I'm a prostitute. Again, like he had a choice.
Right, he had a
like
choice.
it's a side project for him or like a side job because he's still getting money as a pizza delivery boy. So it's like a total different world, right?
so-
it's like
so
a
it's a little
privileged white male privilege
Yes.
prostitution.
It's a privileged prostitute.
I do want to watch that movie because we were just talking about it. I forget why, but we were just talking about how I want to do that. So I don't know. Is that
something
too
about
many
pizza.
prostitutes, one right after the other? Too many prostitutes?
There
I
could
don't know.
never be too many prostitutes. I feel like I do enjoy these movies. That's the thing.
You're right. You're right. I know.
Such
I
a
love
foreign
them.
world to me. Though, I mean, we've talked about it. Like, could I have been a prostitute?
No.
I mean, not for $50. That's for fucking sure. That's
Get a look at the clientele. You'll think differently.
Oh, no, definitely. And that's the other thing. So I feel like that's the other thing about prostitute movies is that they don't necessarily show the clientele, the people who are paying for this.
In Milk Money, they did this better because there's that scene of her, remember, in the limo with that old nasty guy, and she's like feeding him strawberries, and you're like, ew.
But he was
Or
still
at
like a
least I
rich, like old, like he was
You
a
want to
rich
have
old
sex
man.
with an old
who wasn't-
wrinkly man?
No, but I think it's even worse than that. I think it's honestly much worse
But
than
it's
that.
not like you're a call girl. You get a random call in the middle of the night, and you arrive there, and you're like, oh, it's Tom Cruise. He's so cute and handsome. No, you're arriving there, and you're either going to get murdered, or it's like some sketchy, like scary man who's
Well,
probably
here's a
going to murder
question.
you.
So she was a call girl though, which is she wasn't she wasn't on the street walking around. It was actually like you call a number and it gets sent to you, like she goes to you.
Right.
So it's like
yeah.
a little bit different.
Yeah.
Like
But
I mean, it's still random, but also it sounds like her price was very high, so you would think that like that would attract like, you know, not as gross people.
But also, she didn't tell him the price beforehand. Like, she arrived there, saw the house, and was like, oh, I'm going to ask for as much as I think I could possibly get.
And also, like, don't you get the money before?
Usually.
I thought
Like
that
I
was
said.
the rule.
I know. It was so weird. It was very strange.
Well, maybe
Very
because he was young and
strange.
inexperienced. Anyway,
And this, like, kissing on the lips. Like, I know it's not all, like, Pretty Women, but, like, I don't think that, like, in reality they would do that. Like,
No.
pretty sure that it's like, no thanks. And was there a condom? I don't think so. You know, it's crazy.
Right.
It's crazy.
That's the other
Who was
thing.
passing
Yeah,
out-
then, like-
who was passing out condoms at the brothel? That's what I want to know.
I know. And that's the other
No
thing. Like, they don't.
consequences. No consequences.
No consequences. They don't talk about diseases, like what's happening. Like, yeah. Ugh. I mean, obviously that would really kill a movie. I mean, know why they do it. It's like it's a dream scenario. It's a dream. Okay, so just a couple more trivia facts. So, as was made famous by this film, those Wayfarer sunglasses, so the black ones that he wears, very iconic again, stock shot up way high after this movie, like some crazy, like 80% or something, along with the Blues Brothers movie, which also featured them. So you had two movies from the 80s that featured those, and they became a hot ticket and still really are. They're good looking shade. I'm telling you, kind of want a pair.
Did you already buy one?
No,
honest.
but in between this and Top Gun with like the aviators,
I love the
Tom
aviators.
Cruise, like, wow, really killed it in
He
the
knows how to rock
sunglasses
the
department.
sunglasses, yeah.
I know he
He
does.
knows.
He
He
might
knows.
have weird crooked teeth, but he has a great face for sunglasses. That's for sure. And then also fun fact. So this takes place in Chicago, which is also, I think, why we're getting those John
Yes.
Hughes vibes, or suburb of Chicago, very near suburb, right?
It's the same street. This
Well,
is the trivia you're
yeah.
gonna
So
read.
that it's the house that his house, Joel's house, is around the corner from Cameron's house in Ferris Bueller. That's nuts.
What if it's the same universe?
They were neighbors.
Maybe when Ferris ran home, he went through Joel's backyard.
Right. And Joel was at Princeton,
Right.
living it
right, 'cause
up,
was
getting his
86, so yeah,
on his
he-
way to his MBA. Yeah.
Oh, I also love the part where they're like, a Harvard MBA makes $60,000 a year, guys. You're like, oh, how times have changed.
It was big. But could you believe that a Porsche was $40,000 in 1983? Holy shitballs! I mean, I know they're like $100,000 now or whatever, but whoa,
No, that does seem crazy.
that does seem
Fucking
crazy.
nuts, man. Rich white dads in their cars. Am I right? Am
I know.
right?
Oh, well, the other car was like a station wagon.
I know. Like, the mom gets a station wagon. Cool. Thanks, Dad. Like, what?
Dad. Thanks, Dad, for nothing. All right, so that's the flick, guys. Hope you enjoyed. You know, it's not a bad movie. It's just really weird. I'll say that. It's the W word for me, which my friend always says I use way too often, and it's not a good. It's a very lazy descriptor, but I think it fits this really well.
Weird.
I know.
This is it. If anything was weird, it's this. I mean, you can't deny it. Rob Lowe said it. We trust in Rob, and Rob we trust. So yeah. So if you want to talk about the weirdness of risky business, come find us on Twitter at The Sweetie Club or on Instagram at Large Marge Sent Us. Thank you, as always, for listening. Bye.
Bye. Rip Artist Risky.